This real-side experience would involve my being on various assignments, impressions revealing they were not only those of a supporting of life and awareness variety, but due to their sensitive nature also, virtually all details were withheld from my personal self. For just as it was with a previous real-side experience I recently shared, involving a mysterious island I was to access, if our real-side activities are of a nature that should the details become known to the dark forces, so through their inevitable disruption they may derail or fragment that which we are doing, the agreements we are trying to cultivate in relation to the assignment, then it is prudent to assure the dark forces cannot in any way receive information regarding such delicate assignments, and including the agreements we are trying to build. All beings in creation will have their personal selves, the arena of the consciousness effected, simulated side. Anything that occurs within the simulated creational side, the ideas, the agreements, the intents, the assignments, will potentially be accessible to any being in creation, including the dark forces, the unaware, and the ill-intended. All beings in creation, including the dark forces, the unaware, and the ill-intended, will in actuality be real awareness, part of the everything true reality, a real awareness that as part of this everything isness has the oversight of all ideas of creation, all ideas of the consciousness it permeates through. However, those consciousness, personal self immersed only, a choice to remain disconnected from the real awareness that they actually are, and the oversight of everything creational it can afford, so they are resigned to just what the personal self has available as stored memory references from the current lifetime, a more limited position to be sure. Additionally, the real awareness isness as a reality aside from creation and the created consciousness affecting it, so operations can be occurring, assignments can be in place, but can actually be formulated aside from anything idea simulated wise. For indeed, everything is complete with the isness, every assignment and endeavour already the completeness of itself in actuality, through overall intent set with the is, so everything simulated, effected from this already actualized real intent, already is completed. Of course then, the completeness of every objective and assignment must at some point enter the simulated creational arenas and go through the process to a culmination, the process which in reality is complete with the intent that set it in motion, and what we can be shown on the real side are the assignments at whichever point along the process they may be revealed to us. They are already complete, but agreement must be maintained that the desired outcome also is perpetuated. Really then, we are ultimately endeavouring to have overall agreement maintained to that which makes sense with life and awareness. And so, all the dark forces can actually do is disrupt and misdirect agreement from that which is life and awareness supporting through distraction, intimidation, their unceasing attacking efforts where agreement permits they can. But as they cannot access the real awareness oversight, as they retain personal self-immersion, as they can't be shown the completed assignments via the everything isness, where the completeness of every intent can be revealed, unless they are presented as a simulation to the personal self of the new friends, which then enters the simulated side they can access, they are left in the dark. Hence why, on occasion, I receive but the tiniest impressional hint as to my activities being assignments, but virtually all detail, which would be the ideas and simulation, are withheld, until such time as the simulation can be made available at a point where the inevitable dark force attempted agreement diversions no longer can impact the operations adversely. There was one assignment, however, where a little more detail, simulation and idea-wise, was afforded, where I would be transported to a creational position that impressions suggested was the same technological island where a talisman and a stepping up former reptilian black magician were required, an experience I previously shared, or perhaps another key position that was similar, but that regardless of which position it was, so were very delicate negotiations necessary with the beings that were located there. Individuals who would be very instrumental and influential in regards to the continued creational wake-up if their agreements could be secured. However, with it being such a delicate agreement-securing escapade, as I said, I would be unsuccessful, and as though ousted from the creational other dimensional position the beings there occupied so obtrusively and abruptly that the sense was as though being propelled from the real side, with my awareness back in my physical level body, with the physical body experiencing extreme levels of dehydration as a result, as though I had walked a desert for 40 days without water. I would crawl gasping from my tent on the physical and consume copious quantities of much-needed water before returning to my tent and back onto the real side. Seems, however, I wasn't to return to the island or wherever it had been. Perhaps I would attempt to engage with the beings there at a later moment, for impressions indicated that they may as yet come around, identified as a key and valuable assets should they step up, as I said. For now, I would find myself in the back garden of my recreated former UK house on the real side, representing my consciousness. Specifically, I was in the back garden which represents the subconscious, and as I remained there for a few moments, I became aware of a very sinister and extremely tall man, adorned in black clothing. Of all the multitudes of body types I have encountered on the real side, monsters, entities, demons, never had a body form exuded such a sense of foreboding and menace. I would vacate the back garden subconscious and enter my consciousness representing house via the back door. Present within would be an individual that impressions revealed was a real guide. He would gesture to the back door, and as I looked to where he indicated, so I could see the sinister black-clothed being standing on the other side of the door, as though waiting patiently for entry. The consciousness will retain every idea agreement we ever have installed, the ideas that have affected all the endless situations and lifetimes since we first entered the simulators, including the ideas of all individuals we ever have had affiliation with. With those completely consciousness personal self immersed, they then are the complete effect of the entirety of the consciousness construct. Potentially, any idea it contains can effect, manifest, including the ideas that are every individual, that allows that they all can enter our experience at any moment. The process of awareness is a facing and releasing of the ideas of the consciousness. The consciousness will still be there, its idea design, and including the ideas of all individuals we ever had association with throughout all our lifetimes. But rather than be the unconscious effect of everything, we gradually move into a disassociation from agreement with the consciousness, where now we consciously choose who can enter our experiences. This sinister being at the back door then was subconsciously installed as an idea. Agreement with him had been secured, therefore, during a lifetime prior to my current one, wherever and under what circumstances this may have been. But through my process of facing and releasing the consciousness construct, so he was among many who, although will still be present as a subconscious idea, cannot enter my experience unless I now consciously decide. Hence him waiting patiently at the back door. He couldn't simply march into my consciousness representing house, representing open agreement with him, unless I allowed it. The guide would reveal that he was seeking the leaves that I promised him. My personal self not knowing what was going on, as is usually the case. The real awareness, however, orchestrating proceedings with the oversight of everything creational that it has. I would then proceed to invite him into the house, and he would warp through the back door. Apparently, opening it wasn't necessary, standing now tall and ominous in my living room area. He must have stood 8 feet tall, as his head brushed the very ceiling, his skin an unhealthy waxy pale, his body form human, although gargantuan, with a puffy, slightly distorted face, with deep-set eyes and prominent eye ridges. He reminded me a little of a Frankenstein's monster, exuding the most sinister vibe I ever had encountered, as I said. Impressions revealed he was a being of tremendous creational power. Perhaps he was one of the ancient god-type beings I have come across on occasion, assuming this particular form. But also was it so that he was deciding to step up, wishing to become more aware, and then assist the guides and DUANE through his extreme capability and the influence he was in a position creationally to wield. Some of these ancient god beings have a very unique consciousness, to put it politely, that render many of them completely unrelatable to the average simulator-dwelling body form, that to engage with some of them from the personal perspective, so their consciousness and created attitudes are of a nature so alien as to be incomprehensible. And this powerful being would just stand there, as though in a kind of daze, as though lost within the creations of his own head, as all personal self-immersed individuals will be. But as difficult as it is to engage with such beings, the real awareness has the ability to interact with any body type, regardless of their species, language, or consciousness, and seemingly I had at some point engaged with him. He had seen the sense in what I was conveying, the opportunity of the ears, and here he was, making contact through a subconscious agreement I had with him that he was present in my back garden, but as the idea pertaining to him I had released, I had to extend permission affording him entry into my consciousness representing house, as I said. I would inform him that I had the leaves he required, and would invite him to take a seat. He would do so, and so I would approach him, and opening up my arms, would bathe him in a glorious golden light. The leaves then seem to represent ideas, as leaves or anything natural can represent the is, as the true reality animates through everything natural environment-wise, the natural environments that supports us throughout creation. It was as though I was extending the very light of the is to him. This seemed to have the effect of dissolving a vast proportion of his restricting agreements and attachments. Evidently he had agreed that I may assist him in this fashion, as the decider's agreement on his part has to be so before we can venture this or any kind of assistance. For indeed have I seen the guides, DUANE, and a number of aware beings with the ability to remove taplines and agreements. Effectively, they are taking on the ideas from others and working them off, like inheriting a karma and releasing it into the is, and this seemed to be also what I was doing here. Really, he had decided to release the agreements and attachments, but oftentimes we may also cling to the idea consideration that we can't remove such ideas ourselves, even as we would like to. This becomes then our experience, where although we are agreeable to release these ideas, others may have to do so on our behalf. This would make sense for me to perform such an action, for with the agreements taken on, and as impressions revealed subsequently released by myself, this powerful being would then be in a better position in regards to the commencement of his awareness process, as though given a good head start with a thorough consciousness cleaning and overhaul, and facilitating a major alignment of his personal self-intent with the real intent for is recognition. And indeed, with this action complete, his body form was totally altered from what it had been. He still was very tall, but now he had the appearance of a regular human male, his skin a healthy colour, his demeanour jovial and present, as opposed to exuding a very sinister menace and being very distant and distracted. For body form, as a reflected expression of a consciousness design, with his consciousness receiving a radical overhaul, so his body type transformed from what it was to what it became, still possessing of tremendous creational power and influence, but now adamant in using it in a life and beneficial ways, fully intending to step up and proceed with his is recognizing journey and assist the guides via his considerable capability. And indeed, he desired to accompany me on my next assignment, an assignment again of such a sensitive nature that nothing of it would be made available to my personal self, but with the considerable leverage this powerful being accompanying me could bring to the fore. Possible was it that our destination was the island, or wherever it had been previously, where I was unsuccessful with securing agreement with the beings there, but that now, with the presence of this powerful being, so heightened were our chances. For as I said, just like the powerful ancient god being now stepping up, The island dwellers were key individuals also, and were agreements secured from them, they would be very valuable assets with our galactic projects and endeavours.